Let's find ourselves a Zagara. All right, we got her. And the best part about watching pro replays is I get to sit back. I get to relax. We're going to watch it from their camera. We're going to watch one person. And today we have selected Korhen's Zagara. Of course, he was rather famous for doing some Tracer action over the entire HGC Fall Event Championships. They're up against Vox here. Enemy team stole the Tracer, I guess, rather early in the draft, but unsure at the moment. But we're here to watch a little bit of Tracer, or a little bit of Zagara action, though, because she's changed a lot. One of the biggest differences in old Zagara and new Zagara is just the amount of creep that you can actually put out. And new Zagara doesn't quite flow like she used to. So one of the first things I'm curious about is, what are you going to do with your creep? What's the goal number one? And clearly goal number one here is we're not doing a middle fight. We're going to do some sieging. Just going to start off the game by getting a little aggressive in the top. We got Lunara, we got Rhaegar here. If I might do, while we seem to be, spreading around, doing a little bit of roaming at the moment, if I might forward a little monologue at this point. This is something I see a lot of lower league players do, and actually in all leagues do. Make sure you always have a core comp for what you're doing. So in the top there, they had Rhaegar, which made this sort of a core comp. You didn't have any off-tank, though. Rhaegar becomes the main tank and the off-tank in this case. So if you're going to accomplish something, if you're going to mosh pit, make sure you actually have damage behind it. In this case, if you're going to get aggressive and show yourself early on, make sure you have a support to back you up. There's got to be some sort of core comp. Don't just do it. Don't just land a stun. Make sure there's actually a damage in the background. But this is a really interesting choice. So rode all the way from the top, where they were hanging out with Lunara, all the way to get down into the bottom. And that might be what we would consider maybe a dangerous creep location, because an arcane orb is going to fly and likely hit a lane minion and then cause it to explode. But Goat isn't putting out any arcane orbs. Of course, whole nother level, but what can we digest from these pro replays that we can use in our games? Right now, it's that we have a nice little creep escape along the back. And that's going to be extremely useful, of course, if he wants to get out this way or go around and eventually make an escape off of that stuff. Udall seemed to have a bit of a rough time in the tournament. As opposed to what, like Heroes of the Dorm, right? Where he kind of just got to own the place. But seems like maybe they kept him off his main picks. Or maybe just the meta changed and he kept playing Sonya the way you used to. I like this moment here. He's going to go spread some creep. The lane is pushed out to the wall. Saw the Lee Mink coming. Waited for friends. And actually gets out because Mike Udall responds to it. Rather than what would likely happen, which is, why are you running that direction? No one comes. Seemed like you could have escaped from the bottom, but hey, team play, right? They actually have responders to the fears of our players. Clearly eager to get himself back into the bottom lane. Taking a look, getting stuck in a building, taking a look. Happens to everyone. Here's a big choice, right? You can even see it in that dance, in that little body language. Like, am I going? Am I staying? So far, by the way, to start this game, we do have a rather odd choice with the volatile acid. At least in tournaments before this weekend, almost everyone was going Infest. In fact, Infest was the most picked talent of the weekend at level 1. Actually, no, that's not true. It was Roaches, which is even more interesting to me. So, a little off weekend meta pick here. And then Medusa Blades. This is basically the only pick that the pro players did the entire weekend at level 4. Which, it's good for pushing. It's still trying to get over my old reservations against it, because it used to be bad. It used to be an awful choice in comparison to some of your others. I really do like the bonus damage, though, at level 1 that this gives. Just little adjustments, right? Making sure he's at maximum range here and there. I loved all the little adjustments, too, that he was doing throughout that middle part to make sure that it was actually getting 3 attacks off, that his angle was good, and he was taking advantage of his level 4 talent. Now, a little bit of creep maintenance. Are we going to go slow later on? Who knows? I'm actually kind of curious to see how this build builds out. And it's a great creep highway, so you don't have to have any fears of going in against Falstad here. And you have most of the sites seen. Of course, Tracer can dive in a little quicker than the creep might allow us to get sight for. I would assume this would be him thinking, all right, a little bit of creep maintenance. Objective's coming. I want to make the second one. We had a plan that I was going to skip the first one. I got a wall, got a little bit of fort damage in. That feels pretty good. And I'm happy to see that this is just how Banelings go right now, right? You just throw, you kind of just throw them. And here, completely off creep, right? And I'm curious to see if, as this game goes on, if Cohen continues to make this choice. There's a little bit of creep there, which is kind of interesting. To maybe to watch the angle that everyone would be fighting at. And that was, you know, kind of a classic hindsight mistake. So he was thinking of holding on. He's holding on to the creep here because he's thinking, all right, I don't know where the next tribute's going to be. We find out it's going to be right below us, so he drops the one tumor he has, now waiting on cooldown in order to give sight in case they come around from the top. But they're all already on the bottom. I think he just wants to go grab a well here. But everyone engages in a fight. You can even see the shift command with the little green arrow there. Udall explodes. Now he's late to the fight, and we made a mistake. And yeah, hindsight and all that. But an interesting note where he just wanted a little bit of mana. Maybe just a little top off, too, so he could get aggressive during that. And now they have to give up the whole thing because Zagara didn't report on time. Just wanted mana, right? That's not fair. Life's not fair. Sometimes you just want a little respite, a little mana. And you don't get it. And now we're completely out of mana for this point. Is this where things maybe go poorly? Well, we gotta back out. Rhaegar can cover the lane. Rhaegar, such a fantastic, powerful hero. I'm so glad he can't Ancestral himself anymore. But I say that as a non-Rhaegar player. But I've been chasing many Masters Leagues Rhaegars this week. And they are squirrely. And they are frustrating. It's always nice to have one on your team. So we got 2. He doesn't immediately abandon the area because that's where the creep is going to go. But here comes Tyrael, perhaps to clean that up. Next tribute is down in the bottom. Rhaegar has to make the walk. Cool, so he stays behind. Close up the mercenaries. Are you? No, he's going to let him go. These are the big things I want to know about for my own specialist play right now. Yes, they're making plans together, but he did decide to leave those, the Bruiser camp, going in the middle. Some ultimately ineffective but zoning Banelings, which is good to see. That's how it feels you have to use them. Otherwise, you just sit on them unless you get some sort of clutch maul. And let's go back and see what happened. Looked like he just... These zoning Banelings actually caused vision problems. And this is something to be concerned with the new Zagara. Because if we go over to the enemy's vision, we actually have quite a bit of sight here, don't we? Yeah. Ah, yes. Brightwing just teleported in, giving sight in an area. So now, here comes Li Ming, here comes Tracer, even Brightwing around the top. So they didn't even need the Baneling. The Baneling wasn't a sight reveal. It was the Brightwing teleport in that showed everything. They found confidence in that, went around the back, just blew away. I mean, Brightwing's mad low. She goes down too. So does Tyrael, but that's sort of his biz. He's going to chase out Lunara. Lunara, Li Ming clean up. Now Sonya's, she's trapped 2 Falstad over the wall. And that's going to be that. All because of a little thing called Peekaboo, which gave him the sight. And, of course, their team comps and execution and all those sort of things. But it really did feel like Peekaboo gave him the confidence there to make that happen. Let's refind our Zagara. Because we're now on the back foot, which is something that maybe specialists should excel at. Maybe... You know, this is their time to shine, defend the lanes during the curse. I love defense games, tower defense, castle defenses, so it's always good for your own sanity, to place yourself in that mindset when games start going maybe a little south early on and think, oh yeah, this is just a defense game. I love this sort of thing. Wow, holding on to that bottom fort. ETC thinking that he might try to make something happen in the bottom. Rafflecopter goes in advance, hoping to sort of whittle everyone down, but Tracer just dives right in. ETC maybe caught in indecision. Thinking, not sure if he needs to help Udall, maybe needs to help this bottom. They already have 2. But even then, Tyrael shows up for half a second. He would aid in that fight. But I think even with Lunara going down, we maybe defended the most part of this. We got Tracer in the middle with the Tyrael. It's a scary combination. ETC not able to do a thing about that. Udall's trying to take a camp at the moment. So, Corrin has to report to the mid. And nothing happens. Wasted time. Nothing's really going on in the bottom, but there goes that fort, so. And by nothing, I meant no XP was being leaked out in the bottom. But you end up losing the fort. It was dead anyway. Tracer could have run in and smacked it with her pistol. I have no idea why Tracer's guns create so much rubble when swords, lasers, machine guns, bigger things hit that, but something about Tracer's guns just, and then she could just pistol whip a building. Maybe it's wrong, but we'll see. Holding on to all his creep here, which is interesting. Gets 1 out when things start to get defensive, but otherwise really holding on to those. A whiffed win completely. And that's a bit too late. It's a great mosh stack. Let's watch that again. Because these are the big choices, the team fight choices. I think that's what makes our specialists, our Zuls, Murkies, Zagaras, Sylvanas, such hard roles to play in a good way, right? I mean, we can all play Assassin, Crazy Town, Sylvanas when we're 2 levels ahead, if we want. Not everybody. But actually making good choices in the game is the toughest part. And specialists are all about choices. I mean, there's this push going on the top. There's a fort in the bottom that could be taken here. But he's up here taking this. Sees him come in. Turns around. Throws down the 1 creep tumor. Orb comes in. So there's no chance that they're going to steal this at the moment. By the way, top is broken. It's an old replay. No one's dead. Zeus just almost perfectly, actually quite perfectly, completely misses his wins there. Doesn't stop the ETC. 3 people in there. Waits. And the Maw comes up as it ends, locking them down. This gives time. Rhaegar goes, overextends a little around the back, ends up exploding. But he's able to apply all of his stockpiled banelings. How many was he at? And was he actually stockpiling for the Maw? Yeah, so he's sitting at 4. And in fact, we have the 20% slow on top of that. No, we use a bunch into the boss. Okay. Bile drop gets used while, okay, so while the mosh pit is going, then the Maw comes out. Stockpiling some banelings, we unleash 3. A Hydralisk goes in there. And that's the end of the fight. And that's just a great understanding of how the current banelings work. He actually uses the terrain there, shoots it into the wall, but you can see that the baneling actually kind of angles along the sides. It just takes a lot of gameplay to figure out which angles can work like that, as he does right here in a second with his next baneling. But you can see he uses it kind of along the side, so it actually has almost a curve to it, and would have a higher chance of hitting that Li Ming if she were to teleport away. But one of the big things I'm taking from that moment in particular is Zagara used the Bile Drop not after the Maw, but during another opportunity there, and actually had another Bile Drop later on in the fight. So for me, I think I baby my Bile Drops too much. I get excited about my quest, which this Zagara did not do, going with that slow. Only 20% slow, which I do not like, but they're the pro player, right? And it seems to have been a bit of a turnaround. Even though it was a boss pit from behind a little bit. And the map is even now. I mean, yeah, the static XP is in favor of Vox at the moment. They've taken one extra for it. Here goes my Q-Doll, though. So much back and forth. I love the spell shield, though. Even if there isn't a Li Ming, I think it may be one of the better picks. Just in case. Certainly against something like Greymane, who's going to dive you, and that swipe is all spell damage. And the bomb Tracer, too. But there's a lot of incidental spell damages that can ruin things. They're going to give it up. Are they racing for 16? It's just interesting to see how this ETC kind of hides himself. Something I would not want my ETC in solo queue to do at all. I want them to be the first target for burst. But he's setting up for sweet ganks, right? That's still not at Holy Ground yet. That's at 16. All right, here comes Falstad around the back. A wind. Invulnerability goes out. But only lands on the low. Oh my goodness, what is going on there? I guess Tracer's doing something that's breaking the game a little bit. So this is all just chaos. No one's in there. Oh no. And then we all try to run out of the bomb. Ah, it's still gonna hit. Alright, we gotta go back. How much of this is just pure panic? By the way, we got Mutalisk at 16. We gotta go back even further. Basically to where the Falstad shows up for his sweet wind gank. Alright. So you just shooting some Banelings. Here comes the Falstad. Alright, all Banelings are out. Hydra is out. All we got is a Bile Drop. So what actually happened there was the clutchest and quickest of cleanses that stopped Zagara from joining this pile in the front. Just right there. It is half a second long. But it is rather an incredible move by Rhaegar. Rewound again. So we're engaging. Taking a fort. Fort goes down rather quickly. That's the Hydra out. We're going to have another Hydra in a moment, which we end up placing on, looks like Tyrael. There's the wind. And just as it hits, so Zagara is unchanged in their position. And of course, Tracer keeps on coming. They actually do get hit, but the spell shield holds. So they do get hit by the bomb. That's also on the Lunara. But the spell shield actually kept them going. Now we have a Li Ming, and their Banelings are a little early. But we have a Hydra for her. When she gets out, she goes down. Bomb's gonna explode. Doesn't really matter. We got a big heal from Rhaegar there. And actually, is it just Zagara's tiny health pool, or did Rhaegar do something special to get that heal so big? No, nothing in here is actually enhancing the heals at all. In fact, it's Wolf Run, Feral Heart, which is a great talent. That Cleanse, Earth Shield for ETC and others. You got a Sonya too. And then that Earth Bind, that gives the 90% slow. Killing spree. And then they just walk away. Like, normally, in sort of a more Hero League situation, we all kind of dance around and go, all right, are you proud of that? High five, man. Good job. All right, I need to type to you. You did a good job. Oh, wait, we should probably take a boss, right? We've got 18 seconds. What can we get done in 18 seconds? Ah, no, it's too short on time, and we end up bailing. They're still not 16 either, so even if Tyrael was up, he couldn't steal this with a Holy Ground yet. They're going to push out in front of the boss. They got 3 seconds left, but still, that's no Li Ming sieging from behind a wall. They let the tribute go so they can get this done. And as everyone comes up, no, they're going to readjust. We lost our one main creep tumor, place it further back. There's the Mutalisk out. It's just going on a wall right now. You just once it spawn, it has that increased duration, so it'll attack whatever's around. There's another wind. Getting real bounced around. Oh, jeez. Polymorph lasts forever, and in fact, it looks like it is polymorph duration. Yeah, gross. Cigar's already down. They're gonna get chased out of here. Pretty hard. Ooh. Pretty darn hard. Love confident fall stats when they just keep coming. But boss is in the base. I mean, that's a keep. We know what that means in math terms, at least according to the data we have. So they have a pretty good chance to win right now, just from getting that. But they're all dead. The enemy team is kind of going bottom. Maybe they'll try to get a keep themselves. Probably just leave that tribute sitting there. No one on the enemy team is exactly high mobility. We don't have a stage dive or anything funny like that. That would interrupt that later on. But looks like they're going to call off the attack. Zagar's up. I guess a Maw's in play. That could be long enough for the ETC and then the mosh pit to follow up. And so they're just going to play it safe. And get curse. Rather important. Rhaegar's doing a little dance in the middle. Again, this is entirely Kohen's actual vision that we're watching here. It's a little computerized, it's a little smoother than what he was probably actually executing it, because the game has to remember it. This is a really scary engage, though, and he's just going for one pick at all. He wanted right wing. And ETC's walking that tracer dive, though, and now he's got to walk all the way. Rhaegar taking such good care, and oh, he lives. Wow. Showing the power of leaping strike there, Lunara. Oh my goodness. He's just gonna run and do the dance we all do in the Hall of Storms. He's like, come on, come on, come on. They're all up, 3 down. Just shooting long-range banelings at this point. That's a pretty good maw. Sadly, though, here comes the minion wave as it locks on. And that'll be the end. Wait, no. There was a second there where I thought maybe just, but no, mosh pit's on cooldown there. We can see that. So what is digestible to us from this? There was a holding on to banelings before team attacks. At least making sure that our poking banelings weren't used in such great numbers that we didn't have anything to follow up the maw when it came out. We did not talent into Bile Drop here. We did not get, bonus damage for hitting heroes with that Bile Drop, so it was used pretty liberally, though definitely took advantage of those stuns as they came out. Running towards teammates when things got scary, maybe something we can't carry into our own hero league, but always good to try to get a tank or a support in lane. Happy to see that the banelings were just sort of random, that the creep was held on to, that the Mutalisk, once we got Mutalisk, it completely changed the way he was using it. He just got it out. Stop working so hard to make sure that it was actually targeting whatever, just putting it on a wall, putting it on a lane, and then letting it go with its increased duration. Which does, it lasts for a full minute once you get the Mutalisk upgrade. And I think that's why, despite other maybe better situational choices, we're going to always see Mutalisk for a long time, because there's always the chance that it goes ignored, just like that, just like the dog camps on Infernal Shrines. There's just that chance that someone doesn't report, and that thing keeps going and gets something really important done. Interesting game, though. They just got swarmed, isn't it? And that's that greater polymorph duration. Just brutal. Brutal. Interesting to see even in death, though, which is really the more popular pick right now. This isn't a dive comp. I don't think you actually... Everyone's pretty squirrely. You got teleporters, you got barrel rollers, you got blinkers. There's really no one in this team that really stays in the centralized area for protection and death. But I'm seeing most Tyraels in Hero League, except for me, going even in death. Granted, I'm duo queuing a lot right now, so I have a friend I know I'm going to explode on. But then Swift Retribution, Interesting on the damage, too, but I guess that works into sort of the swarmy nature of this team. Funny, it feels like you want to rock in front of this. You know, like something really sad like Rhaegar and maybe like Johanna, and then all these guys can sort of revolve around that. But what actually happened here was just everyone's high mobility versus, you know, not an immobile team itself. I mean, you got Leaping Strike, Lunara. All these guys have a little bit of movement speed anyway, but they just completely swarmed them. Didn't feel like a draft loss, though. That's fine, Fan. Well, congratulations on his most recent change of teams and reassignment. I hope his new family will be a little happier. Eventic didn't seem like a very positive team at times. And Fan always seemed to keep at least the shadow of a smile on his face. So I always appreciate that. Anyway, Fan Zool, Tomb of the Spider Queen, great map for it. They also got Zagara. So is this an instant win? In our current Hero League sort of mindsets, maybe. The Tyrael doesn't really fit the comp much, does it? At least in the solo queue kind of mentality. We have even in death, so we're going damage. He's going to die instead of anyone else and kill them. We got a Backlash, which is very interesting. We're up against ETC, who does regenerate, but is a little health-based. He's not Artanis. He's not Sonya. He does have a sizable health pool, but I always look for twos. I'm looking for something else that Backlash can take advantage of, and there's nothing really else high health on the enemy team. Greymane does have a surprising bit of health, but no regeneration on him, so maybe this is a counter pick to Greymane, but this is a pro game. We'll clearly see Void Prison, I would assume, which means we're not going to see Shadow Assault, and that's maybe a point towards avoiding Shade, but Shade also works on Greymane and anything else going on there, so the Backlash is extremely interesting to me, and I'm curious to see how he's going to use it. Recently picked up Zool. For myself, playing him a lot again now. He's very, very powerful on certain maps, Blackheart's Bay being the main one in my book. So I'm curious to see what his Zool can do on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and if he's going to double soak, what he'll be doing, what he's looking at, what his Bone Prison priorities are. Fight in the middle over? Cool. He goes top. And there's a pretty clear reason why on some of these maps, Zool does only 2 of the lanes and not the 3rd. Most likely we'll be seeing Fan going from top to middle. And that's because there's this big ol' area in the back that you can go through. All this area is very safe. Even this has a little escape here. You know, you probably don't want to go like this into the lane. You probably don't want to enter through just in case someone's waiting for you. But this hallway here makes this transition super duper easy safe. You don't go to the bottom because of this. This is a mess. This is a madhouse. To go through here, you never know. You never know if you have to walk, and then you go through here. What, you pop out here, you pop out here. You never know. You never know what's going to be down there, which is why strong solo laners like Zagara, like Thrall, end up in the bottom, and our Zools end up mid-top. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun playing Zool. Though kind of stressful, as a guy used to tanking, watching my team run amok without me. Unsure if I should join. And shows up just in time for the final explosion to spawn a bunch of skeletons which proceed into the wall. Now the idea when you get to 13 and can add corpse explosion in is to make sure that the minions that you spawn reach the wall so when they die they explode on a building. Will Fan put any attention to that when we reach his 13? And will he play any differently in the lower levels here? Because right now they're all doing the transition. Tyrael is now visiting Zagara in the bottom, making sure if she needs any help, needs to get herself out of there. ETC comes in. No backlash. Check that out. No Bone Prison yet. Now it's used, actually. And it's going to blow on Greymane slightly. Not enough to kill him. He's barely going to get out of there. So, a very interesting reaction. Why didn't he pop it the second he became scared? Why did he wait that extra couple seconds? Maybe it was a reaction. But maybe it was a choice. And that's... So let's actually take a look at that let's take a look at that information real fast. While I clean up my camera a little bit here. There we go. Looking fabulous. Let's get back to it. I want to see that exact moment over again. A little further. Because you'd think the backlash is for ETC, right? Proceed down. ETC gets a gank. We become scared. Greymane's right there. Yeah, maybe it's just a late quick. And only goes off on Greymane. Still 117 damage there. So, it's Tomb of Spider Queen. You don't need to hold on to wells for objectives. You can use them whenever you want. You don't need to absolutely go to full health because it's Tomb of the Spider Queen. You can use them whenever you want. And he's got Rhaegar in tow with him. Tyrion's gonna go visit the bottom again with Zagara. And we really don't have anything left to push, so they're thinking about going to the bottom. There's nothing there to push. There's no skeletons to spawn. Scythe leads, does everything to a half health or so, and then the Curse Strike cleans up the rest. So we'll probably see a similar thing here. It's on cooldown at the moment, but there's the Scythe. It's calming to see a Bone Prison on the enemy tank. I always feel like you're doing it a little wrong when it comes out that way. That one clearly just to be a little scary. And so with Tyrael here to back him up, I guess he continues on for a little bit. Middle gets pushed out. There are now skeletons spawned there, so he makes his way downward. As this explosion goes, he's there to make sure the gems and the skeletons spawn. Now we go back up top. Yep, we're just doing this dance. It's not extremely smooth. It seems like Tyrael lags behind sometimes. Kael'thas lags behind. And I wonder if that's because of the Zool. Because usually if they're doing this without a Zool, it's very 4-man across all the lanes. Holy Radiance comes in. Interrupts a little bit. Tyrael is so low damage throughout the entire game for the most part, but really no one cares until he has his toolkit put together later on. And Zagara just keeps pushing despite all this dancing. Astral Authority is really holding on to their XP well. Lots of Bone Prisons on ETC. I'm very surprised to see this. I mean, it's on cooldown. Zool's got no mana problems. No mana problems because of talents he took. He took Track Ghoul's Essence and Rathma's Blessing. I've been doing the Essence myself. A lot of people suggest against it. There's a very popular stack with Jailers, so that you get 2 little skeletons by the person you put in a Bone Prison. Then it heals you because you spawn 2 skeletons. And then later on, when you get Corpse Explosion, these explode next to the guy, usually because it's the only thing in range or some splash damage or something goes off, and you get some bonus damage in on them. But he is deciding 100% to make sure that he never has to leave these lanes and can continue to get topped off every time he goes back and forth. It's an interesting choice. I like it a lot, personally. I wonder in what instances, maybe more team fighty, maybe less double soak instances, that Van would choose to go with something like Jailers. Clearly we don't want to go through the top right now. It's a little quiet on the map. Not sure where ETC is. We got 3, but still there's ETC. And this is looking pretty grisly down there, but he's gonna keep near the lanes to make sure that Scythe comes back and gives him more skeletons. We're done here. There's nothing left to spawn, so he's gonna head top. And hey, we got turn-in. And the first spiders are ours. All right, big old gank. Let's see. Watching that Bone Prison. Still nothing. So maybe it's a health percentage kind of business. Because one of the interesting things here is that when you go Shade, Bone Prison's cooldown is increased by 20 seconds. So it goes up to 50 seconds. Once every 50 seconds, meaning that Zul can't engage in as many things. But when you go either Shackler, which no one really does, or Backlash, it's a 30-second cooldown. So why haven't we seen him use it liberally? It's not a huge shield. I mean, Zul has an okay health pool. It does give a surprise factor, 25%, 3 seconds. It's not a long time, though. Would pro players really call out like we would with Blizzards and Pyroblasts and Sundering is certainly a big one we all sort of call out and go, it's done, or ETC's Mosh Pit, right? I mean, would pro players really say, Bone Armor's out, it's on cooldown, get him? Like, maybe it's not that important without Shade. Another Bone Prison on the tank. Certainly limits what the tank's able to do confidently. Maybe that's it. Maybe we have a level lead and... There's Uther. Okay, Uther went in range. But with this build, he's going to have very few mana issues, so he doesn't have to hold on to anything. So maybe we can just Bone Prison whatever's in range whenever we want, just because it's a shortish cooldown. I mean, only 12 seconds for a very important ability. It's 80 mana, but with this build, he won't have any mana issues, really. Meanwhile, in the background, Zagara did report just spreading some creep, doing a little bit of maintenance around the top turn-in. On Uther, ETC comes through. Nice little stack. They get in position. And actually, it's going to be a Nova. So why would he poison Nova here? That's the next question. Bone Prison seems to be the more powerful, at least more Hero League-centric pick. What about the enemy team informs us that we should go Nova for melee? Maybe that's it. ETC, Uther, Greymane, Zeratul. And Uther does have some problems healing multiple people. So the poison would get a lot of value and make Uther have to make some tough choices as to who's getting Holy Light and how you're going to line up the Holy Radiance. So maybe it's just an anti-Uther thing. Anti-melee thing. But if you're thinking melee, then all the bones, little, skeletal mages, they make little body blocks, and it is a little messy right now. Those body blocks on those mages seem to have gotten bigger recently. And I have messed up my own team. Maybe because we're low mobility, we wouldn't want to slow because we'll never catch them anyway. Maybe we get caught on our own skeletal mages. I think it's more that they just have poor melee, and we're going to punish that by making sure that the poison always goes off. A little bit of a top off underneath. He can get a little crazy during this time since his health is actually regenerating under this. So they're going to apply themselves into the middle. Still no 10s on the enemy team. Now, it's important to remember, if you all haven't been playing Heroes for a long time, you need to remember that this was a conscious change by the devs. The XP required to get to 10 is substantially lower than the XP that it takes to get anything beyond 10. So they want a team to have a lead. If you are level 8 and they're level 10, there's actually not that much XP in between you two. It is nothing compared to the XP of, let's say, 11 to 13. So don't tilt if they get early 10, but we do need to play safe, of course, which is what the enemy team's doing a little bit right now. I mean, he's using his I'm on cooldown, I don't have an ult anyway powers to run into the top, spam some skeletons. Now there's a brief window. These skeletons last 15 seconds. If he were to go spawn more skeletons, then his maximum of 4, which we have right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, these skeletons will instantly die. So I'm curious to see if that's something he's aware of, if he's going to avoid... I mean, there's nothing really to spawn skeletons on right now, but if he avoids spawning skeletons to make sure these ones are still going, they're gone now, just by timed life, so he's good to spawn. But an interesting, maybe, next level Zul thought. I doubt he puts any thought into it, though. Now they're 10. They're probably all right there. It's a scary thought. Nope, there's Greybane. All right. No one's there. They're going to burn that top. Looks like we're going to swing around on the middle here. Let's get refocused, though, on Fan. And look at what he's looking at. This is a nice camera angle. Let's be a little old lady about this for a moment. But for those of you using locked camera, this kind of shot is why I'm nervous. You can imagine if we're using locked camera, this camera changes from this, which is very healthy, to this, which is very scary. The merits of this camera are that we can see this one, and if anything were to come in there, we can see this. We have Zuna, our tank, up here, which means anything coming from the top will be intercepted by him first. We've got Tomster here, ready to do gravity lapses on anything that comes through the gate. And of course, the Spider Queen is going to put out waves in big, big directions down the center. So he has the best escape chance right through there. And the tank and everyone, including we also have a Maw, is ready to react if something were to go bad. This is great positioning. This is a great camera. That's why you should use non-lock camera, so you get pretty little camera shots on what you're up to. And there's the exact thing. Look at that, right in the back. Oh, it is gonna ruin the backlash. But we have a Sank coming out of it, so they just gotta run. Dudes explode in the back. I'm so curious about Poison Nova, though. I want to know why it was used up here, so far forward, instead of joining the back maybe a little bit, or waiting for whatever else was going to happen, right? Why is this a reaction? Also, we're focused on Zagara. Let's fix that. There we go. Interesting, too, just side note, Fan moves his button to 2, so that when he gets Bone Prison, he never has to screw up his buttons. Bone Prison is always on 2. Or a Bone Spear at 20. It's always going to be on 1 for him. Bone Shield is always 2. So, interesting little forethought there. Anyway. So, it's real far forward. It does get, what, a little bit of a wall? Is it going to actually... Well, it does hit the building, and it hits everything in the area. These guys do take a bit of poison damage, but that's all cut off, and then the backlash doesn't actually get to do anything, but it doesn't really matter. There's more than enough damage and a sanctification to follow it up. So he goes chasing Greymane. That curse on him means that his attack speed is reduced by 50%. This keep will put them either at 13 or very close to it, so I would assume at this point he's going to go Corpse Explosion, just to push harder, win harder with the towns he's already taken. No, actually. We're going to get some slow. Spectral Scythe slows by 40%. So even on a map that would be entirely push-based, still skipping... I mean, maybe we do lack a little. We got Gravity Lapse. We'll have to wait till 16, till Rhaegar has a slow. I guess we are a little low on control, maybe. And that's to pick up that little bit of slack that's missing in the slow department. And with 3 melee, again, maybe it's just for that, right? There's a good chance we'll hit multiple people, all of which will be slowed by 40%. Nice reactions as they came in there. So he's going to put out a Scythe. He's got another Poison Nova ready. And Backlash is in there, runs through, giving him all that speed. Making sure the Backlash goes off on the HGC there. There's the poison. Ah! A Zeratul reveal. Was that the intention all along, perhaps? Perhaps. Zuna's gonna go down. I guess he wanted to open the wall for his friends if they wanted to charge in. They do have Uther down for 12 seconds. Rhaegar now becomes the tank. We all have to back out. Still a little light for a turn-in. Taking a look around. This is Fan's camera, by the way. So now it's that weird part of Zool, right? Where you start to feel like until you get 20, you don't have the burst damage to contribute as much to team fights. And everything's pushed out, so there's no skeletons to spawn. You know, maybe those 2 stacks of skeletons in the early game power us through that. Now that we get enough passive regeneration as we level up, now that abilities are in play, talent specs are coming together, we avoid the corpse explosion just because there's a chance we're winning and we don't have any skeletons to make. Ooh, scary thing here. Got his backlash shield. Here comes Tyrael, though. So many choices here, and still puts it on the ETC, I guess, to stop the power slide and possibly a mosh pit. I mean, it's got to be a conscious choice. Backlash, going off on the ETC, hits him for 638 there. That's quite a bit of damage. There goes the poison. Zeratul does end up dodging it, but Uther takes it quite a bit to the face. And it looks like there's a small bit left on 4. Wait a minute. Did a bang symbol just come out of Greymane's top hat gun? Blizzard, is that really that wacky? I believe it is. Let's check this out. Greymane having a bit of a rough day back here. Yeah, let's see. Where's our? He's a 2. There we go. And he runs, and he runs. There it is. Yep. A little bang comes out of his gun. Real cute, Blizzard. Real cute. Back to Faye. Well, here we're just kind of 3 levels up, run yourself into the wall. Let's go win. ETC is down. Greymane's down. No, we're gonna go boss. Pressure in the bottom. Catapults and whatnot might keep them locked in base. We are gonna get this. We do have a turn in, and then are we gonna do the dance? Are we gonna do a boss dance, or are we just gonna play it safe here? Nope, just a good old-fashioned gentleman's turn in. Nothing special. No throw pit bossing. Zeratul's down in the bottom, which is causing them to get all aggressive here. Zeratul's probably about halfway to this fight, but here comes the Bone Prison once again on the ETC. Holy Ground does not land through. And he's got a friend. Nope, he disengaged. No Bone Prison during that at all. Even with spooky Zeratul popping out, no Bone Prisons. Poison Nova almost ready to go. Zuna's taking quite a bit of damage. It's quite the little dance for being 3 levels up, right? I mean, they're not disrespecting their opponents. Okay, we got one out on Sylvanas. Good Sylvanas can dodge that, I believe, if they're mid-air when the Bone Prison lands, but most in my league tend to just sort of get stuck on the far end. Still can't catch them back there. All right, we back out. Yeah, another line of catapults. We got a Spider Queen in the middle that we can assist. No one runs through the actual middle of the map. The middle of the enemy team to get down in the middle lane. Awaiting Holy Ground, but no one's going to overstep that, right? Real close. Almost there, Frozen. Yeah, lots of little pokes and prods. Now, that exact dance there is something very common that Zul's do. By the way, end up going with that. If it hits a hero, you get it on a reduced cooldown, which actually means at level 20, you can almost perfectly stack constant healing debuffs against the enemy team. If you're not familiar with that, at level 20, you can end up taking Mortal Wound. Enemies hit by Spectral Scythe receive 75% less healing for 4 seconds. So, with this particular talent, cooldown by 5 seconds. If you hit an enemy hero, you take that down to 3 seconds. You might be able to stagger with a 1-second summon time on the Scythe. Might be able to stagger constant healing debuffs. But I doubt that's what he's going for here. I think it's still just 4 melee on the enemy team. There's a good chance you'll hit somebody. But you can see this little dance here where he puts it out, and then he's going to walk backwards, not only to increase its duration, but to maybe angle it on somebody. So here it's thrown out rather casually. right, and then he sort of does this little dance in the background to see if he can't adjust the angle that it would return on. Falstad should be doing the same with their hammerangs. And yeah, he was in a little bit of danger there, so Tyrael put out his little racetrack for him. He wants to get deep. Okay, cool. The Bone Prison does go out. Here's Backlash, 100% offensive Backlash. No shield about it at all. Ooh, wow. Oh, just another second would have been a Poison Nova. Well, an amazing Mosh gives them a level back and chases them out. They're still pretty darn locked in that base. There's no real, there's not an orbital strike or anything silly like that that could go instantly destroy that middle. But it is going to be rough, and Sylvanas will have to be trapped in the base for quite a while. What a fantastic understanding of the range of gravity laps there. Barely touching Zeratul's toes and getting off. Oh no! Bit of an overextension, perhaps. Now we're waiting on Zul to be dead. And get back. So they're just going to have to let a turn-in happen. Poor guys. Before they can start a camp as well. Here's an interesting choice. Just getting topped off. Yeah, they're saying everyone else is back. Might as well. We're not going to plow into this without all 5 of us, and no one's going to go out in front of me. There's that early Mutalisk just caused a little bit of chaos. So far, we haven't gotten much value out of our level 16 talent pick yet. Sort of random Banelings coming out as well. That's it. Oh, got interrupted. Now we have that weird Spider Queen glitch. Here comes the wave. Bone Prison out on Sylvanas. No one's really in range to take advantage of it. Great reactions, but a Sanctification that really doesn't do anything. No one's around left to really do anything with it. They're charging the top. Fans lagging behind a little bit. Trying to get some maybe skeletons, trying to take out. Nope. All right, that's the stagger that they need, possibly. There's the Bone Prison on Zeratul. Backlash to chase out Uther. It's going to turn around and explode right on Zeratul's face. And that'll be the stagger they need to probably go win the game. So we're not going to get to see any cute 20 anti-healing stacking. No, they're just going to charge right in here. There's a little bit of advantage Zul has, too, on these charges, because the minions are about to spawn. They'll all turn into the skeletons in the area around him. There goes the poison. That'll make skeletons as well, but now Uther staggered as well. He's not 20. He's not coming back. And that'll be the end. So it felt like a very map-controlled game, didn't it? Zagara, Zul, together as one. Pretty powerful. Not sure why the Tyrael, but he was able to turn off maybe some key things. He can't interrupt a Mosh until he's 16, though. I mean, these are the pro players, right? They can frankly do whatever they want if they're practiced up for it. But really odd choice for Tyrael. And then you have the double specialist and you add Kael'thas to that. But then again, you're really punishing the 4 melee by going Kael'thas. Even though they're all decently squirrely, Uther probably the least mobile of all of them. I mean, you got disengage rolls, you got teleports, blinks, you got power slide. And, well, Sylvanas is squirrely enough as she is, but she's not a melee. So a very interesting comp. Though, getting Zagar and Zul on your team for Tomb of the Spider Queen is very powerful. But you do lack a little bit of team fight, so interesting to see Maw, I guess, to make up for that, and same for the Poison Nova. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the deciding factor. It's team fight. And Poison Nova maybe makes up for team fights, whereas the Skeletal Mages, while powerful in team fights, will get destroyed rather quickly, except for their sudden shock value of the slow, perhaps. Their damage is pretty low. The excitement about the mages is that you can get that level 20 that if you get a death, you get a mage, and that thing will attack with a slow, and you might get a stagger that wins you the game as one person falls. I would have been very curious to see what his level 20 pick would have been. Health percentage base attacks on Garden Terror, because they work on the Terror, are incredible. So having Leoric in your back pocket or having Tychus in your back pocket, probably Tychus is a better one if you're looking to expand your roster. The chances of taking Leoric are smaller. particularly as a late pick, you'll probably need a more main tank, though you can main tank on Leoric if you're good enough. Doing percentage-based health damage when you notice the enemy team has double tank is extremely powerful. And that's the exact reason why Tychus was picked up here. Plus, it's Garden of Terror. These abilities to do percentage-based things to a hero-controlled monster are extremely powerful. So that's why we're going to watch Tychus today, except for the fact that I think everyone should probably be playing a little bit of Tychus right now. He's very, 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 very good. Now, he's sporting a Master Skin here. I'm guessing that's Resistance. Yep, Resistance for 3 seconds, 25% damage reduction. And Resistance does seem to have its own words. Kind of like Magic the Gathering. A Resistance, it'll just replace all the other text. 25% Resistance, same thing Muradin has. It's up against some cute stuff, but he's clearly worried about the dive. Tyrael, ETC, who's, you know, not as divey, but still power slides forward, and then the Greymane following it up. So this will give him some generic damage resistance. It's not spell-based. It's not block-based. It's up against some cute things, but this is probably what you'll be doing because you're fighting a front line with some sort of burst behind them, or a dive comp, and the double tank is supposed to encourage that. So for all you aspiring Tychus players out there, start with Resistance, and then, you know, branch out to other things as you get comfortable. I think a lot of these are really cute. Press the Advantage is probably my favorite one, but you do need to be making up for range in that way. But it's a great choices at level 1 for Tychus. So we're all gonna kind of, you know, dumbly swarm around the middle, and Zagar's like, I want to go bottom. It's really not that different from our Hero League game, is it? Enemy team kind of hides out. Leeming does a little poking. Maybe she'll fire some magic missiles straight into a tower in a moment. Zagar wants to leave, as they always do. All right, we're going to go bottom with the Uther. Zagar's going to head top. And we need some music, Blizzard. What'd you do to my music? Ah, they killed it. It's not going to work. No music today. We'll have to sit in stunned silence watching cattle. As like it's some sort of golf game. And we'll all applaud real lightly. And it's like Hearthstone. Ooh. No one go too wild. Bigger crowd next time for the HGC event, please. So the miking of that crowd was extremely awkward. As it only picked up 1 or 2 very dedicated wooers. Whereas the international, fantastic crowd miking. But, you know, they've been in the same location for a couple of years. I think they might have figured it out well. And you got a big crowd there, too. So, mic that Blizzard Finals BlizzCon stuff. Anyway. Riding with Kerrigan for a little bit. Doing a little bit of roaming. Tychus not quite as powerful as a roamer as you might have known him in the early days of the game. Even into last year before the scaling changes. Tychus could very easily show up in a lane and dispatch someone very, very quickly with an overpower. That is not how it works at all anymore. Overpower is more what you do when you need to stay mobile for a little bit. It's really about planting your feet sometimes and getting out your minigun trait, which is important to talk about because a lot of people don't play Tychus right now. Minigun, 25 mana, so it does cost you a little bit, which is kind of odd. Just like Iron Skin. I don't think it should cost mana, but, you know, there are those situations where you're chasing her and she doesn't have an Iron Skin, and that's kind of nice. So maybe we shouldn't change those sort of things, just for flavor's sake. At any rate, attacks, basic attacks against heroes deal bonus damage equal to 2% of their maximum health. Lasts 3 seconds. And you can augment this to maybe last longer, to do different things, to do a higher percentage. If they're above a certain amount of health, we'll see what his level 4 pick is. But right now, he's very much just playing the map. Going around, being a part of important moments, not really focusing on, you know, just attacking heroes in any means. And we're using a lot of abilities here. You're seeing some stuns come out from Kerrigan. You're seeing grenades used. That's because Johanna has clear sight of at least 4 of them in the top. But it looks like it is everyone there. So here he comes. He's going to set up his camera angle before he goes in. Leading with the minigun. You can see it lit up there in the corner. It is if you're fighting against Tychus's, it's very scary because the visual cue on minigun is very, very small. The edge of your gun lights up. That's it. There is no yell. There is no audio cue. There is just a little bit of red in the gun. And you'll see it right here as he locks on there. Minigun is active. Throwing your grenade does not delay your attacks. They continue, even though the gun kind of goes to the side. His actual attacks are not being interrupted. So here he burns, he readjusts, and only after minigun is out and done, then he engages the overkill, because we don't want to accidentally stack those and lose some value on our tradability there. A little bit of a mistake does allow Monk to grab a couple extra, but we do have a Terra and they don't. Now he's burning again. We're waiting on minigun. Wanting to get in range, gonna back out.
The sun dawns. My children will sleep for now.
And Tychus does have a decent attack range, but if you're putting together a comp with Tychus, you do need to be careful of Kael'thas, of all the normal things you're afraid of with too many melee, because he will be, for the most part, up in that business. Rather, maybe adjusting for overkill, maybe he's getting in range to make sure that as they run away, the minigun continues to attack so he doesn't have to walk along with them. Here he's just going to charge down the middle. Actually laying the potted plant out besides him because he just wants a wall here. He doesn't plan to go any deeper than the wall. In fact, kind of letting it just go, right? He's not absorbing shots out of the Li Ming. In fact, dodging most of them. Not too concerned about protecting that potted plant. Now, with the next cooldown, a couple minions with him, he's going to go a little deeper now that he's seen so many people responding to the top push. I still think in your own leagues, you know, if you're in silver, bronze, maybe even gold, I still think you should just go and place your potted plant there and just lock everything down so you can charge right in. But in this environment, it was very smart of him to stagger it forward. And it might be something that I need to consider when placing my own potted plants. And remember, the rule on the Terror is, as long as you have more life than you have timed life, you're good to go. So, if your time life is extremely low, he could get very suicidal with this thing right now. He's only got 9 seconds left. He could plow it into anything. 30 seconds is the cutoff. Until you're 30 seconds away from losing the Terror, you probably shouldn't go below half health. You really want to baby that thing. Make sure you have that time in your final seconds to really get in deep and smack some people around. Now, does he want to take camp, or is he just going to go farm the bottom? Cigar's going to go take the top camp. She ended up going with, so she is doing our murking, our jungling in this game. She's got that corpse feeder going on. Let's take a look at some of the talents he picked up. Bigger They Are, a very popular pick. Increased minigun's damage bonus to 4%, while enemy heroes are above 40% health, but minigun no longer has any effect on targets below 40% health. So, certainly complicates things a little bit, adds an if statement in there. But, 2% to 4%, you're burning through the big onset of health when a fight breaks out. I'll be interested to see how he adjusts his targeting. We're up against an ETC, so I assume this next one is grenade range. Yep, this is to interrupt mosh pits. Because the grenade is on a pretty short cooldown of 10 seconds, Tychus is also a great pickup against ETC, not only to burn him, but to interrupt mosh pits, because you have a 2-second cooldown shorter than most stuns, and 4 to 6 second cooldown shorter than most of the big, more powerful abilities that you might use for a similar thing. So another great reason to take Tychus in these scenarios. ETC seen in the bottom, so we're going to go take some camps. I guess he's going to get started here. Of course, minigun has no effect on anything here, so he's just going to have to lose a little bit of health. But here comes our Uther, doing a rather interesting little wave of light build. So far, Kerrigan's right on point for a normal Kerrigan build. Interesting that she decided to take the Bladed Momentum, which means she will have to back for mana pretty often in some of these fights. Actually, Crusade marches on, which is a cool pickup to see.
The night comes, heroes. Remember, kill the shadows and claim nests.
Odd use of minigun, right? But, there's no mosh pit in play yet. There's the minigun out. As soon as it's done, then the overkill comes in. Used it mostly on Monk there, whichever target was in range. Now we're gonna have to back out. See if the grenade is just used, yep, to push things off of Tyrael, possibly. But Johanna does go down. Just kind of throwing him at this point. Be interesting to see if he kind of holds on to them as ETC gets mosh, or if things just sort of continue to be in this style. There's minigun burns. It burns hard. Only one ult. And actually, that's not a ton of damage with a Holy Radiance build. Doesn't stick around for a heal, though. Gonna go straight down and use Overkill on this lane. Nice. It's good to always see that things are used a little more spontaneously. It's not all a calculated madness that we sometimes credit esports for being. Some things just look just like they do at home. Again, short cooldown on that. He still doesn't need it. Now, no minigun on that attack, because he knew the ETC was going to disengage. Stand pretty late, too. Really not pressing their 10 advantage here, but maybe they're just holding on to all their ults for this terror coming down his way. And that was exactly what I was talking about there. He was trying to get in deep enough so that his minigun would continue to burn the terror for as long as possible. The terror made a very direct call to get out. Here comes minigun again in a couple seconds, so he's probably going to try to get deep on the terror yet again. I think that's why Uther's hanging around on him. There it is, another engage. You can see how much that burns. Percentage health, so powerful against the terror. It'll be interesting to see. I think he'll probably go with a giant killer-like talent for his grenade in the higher levels. Oh, wow. Lucky dodge there. Grenade over the wall to see if he could hit a Li Ming. Still no drill used. They haven't committed to an area. Maybe a little more powerful on push in this particular match. Kind of a scary angle. Really diving on Zagara. They seen if everyone can dive in on Zagara and if they can get something happening. Now you got Tyrael out. Opens with overkill. Laser goes down in the bush. Kind of guarding the retreat. There's the engage. He actually used minigun on Tyrael, who was already too low, so it actually didn't have any value there. But they burn Tyrael, the rest is engage. That range allows him to interrupt a bunch of Hearthen people. Now they go, oh, Johanna goes over there too and interrupts one more. With a little bit of condemn action. Just trying to stop the Hearths. Delay them out. Greyman had to clean up something in the bottom, so that encourages Cattle here to put himself in the middle. Overkill. Killing the lane as they all move down in a straight cone towards him. But I'm very curious to see what this build ends up being like in the late game.
Your enemy has spawned a terror. Interesting.
Interesting. We got Charge Blast on the enemy Li Ming. I'm going Force Armor, but into a Calamity. I mean, you're right there for an auto attack. So I like this is my preferred build. So I'm just noting it because I'm happy to see it. A grenade to check if something's there. Here comes Greymane. So he's trying to decide he thinks he can make it. Li Ming's there too. There's a lot of bursts in this lane with him. So the dash gave him 25% resistance, which is absolutely helping him through that. Looks like we did get a very quick pickup as we engage there of That's the Stuff. The most popular talent at 13 in Hero League. Minigun heals you for 100% of the damage it deals, the 100% bonus damage that it deals. This is really, really powerful with Divine Shield, because Divine Shield is likely to land on you maybe when you're at about half health or so. And That's the Stuff does allow you to heal up behind it. And for a decent amount too, if you're actually wailing on something like a Terror. So with resistance, 25% reduced damage, and a little bit heal under that, he managed to burn quite a bit of the Terror and not actually take any damage himself. Now to slide back, the laser is ready, but I don't see anyone committing in this area. Cute little arcane orb through the bush wall. Li Ming is still going to try to dance on the side a little bit. Kerrigan's made a hard engage. Gonna have to just walk out of it. Luckily, they're scared of him. with the level lead. Still no laser. Minigun's still sitting there as well. Grabs a well, because it's probably going to go down. Might as well get powered up, try to get in a little deeper. ETC's kind of hunting. Push inwards with the grenade. Zagara getting some good business done in the bottom during all this. So now we want the mid. Kerrigan's wants the mid. Zagara starts getting chewing. Gonna call for help, looks like. Interesting. Leeming and Greymane in the bottom, so surprised they didn't decide to go for the keep, but hey, it takes care of itself, right? And now it's night phase, and we're in a good position for it. It's like a power slide on the Kerrigan. A little surprised. Still not a single mosh pit. There's the Greymane, though. All right, there's the Sanctification. That's a lot of ults out, and actually, the mosh didn't accomplish anything. It's an adjustment. All right, I want to see target priorities. I want to see what he picked. Of course, one of the dangers of playing Tychus in a Hero League scenario is that you will be attacking tanks. And when other players see you attack tanks, they sometimes attack tanks. And that means everyone's attacking the tank, damage in the back lives forever, they win the game, and everyone's yelling at each other, why did you attack tanks? And you're like, because I'm Tychus. It's what I do. Particularly with bigger they are. You attack tanks at the onset of the fight to get them low, hopefully scare them off. Maybe they stop making smart engages, they don't get as deep, and then overkill, and your normal attacks should go on something a little more squishy. But you can see this damage is being plowed into ETC here. Already taking him down almost to 50% now with that shield. So here's the Sanctification. There's a mosh that was accomplishing nothing. Nice job, Johanna, on the Unstoppable. He gets a little zoned out. He's actually firing in nothing right now at all. It is locked on to Tyrael, but nothing's being hit because of the Sanctification. There's the damage, there's the damage, there's the damage. Putting into Tyrael again. No minigun at the moment, so he's just attacking whatever. He's going to back up as Greymane and Li Ming kind of start poking around for him. Damage is in the way back. Kerrigan's with him there, though, too. Luckily, Tyrael doesn't see our Johanna coming back. A little bit of a dance as he's nervous. He's going to try to burn ETC, but ETC's down to 40% health, so it's not doing any bonus damage. So Overkill gets turned on, and he walks back with it. It's enough to scare him off. And so now we have to do a little bit of an odd dance as everyone survives, but we had to get Johanna, Kerrigan, all these guys topped off. Looked like Kerrigan actually ran to the top, took a couple of seeds there, and then Hearth back to get the full heal. Missing a lot of ultimates, though, and it looked like our drill was not very successful in that particular battle. So Cattle setting up his camera for the engage. Sees it happening down here, so he only needs to see himself in the top corner. Everything he's concerned about is on this right side of the screen. Smart little running gun. Walking across the sword. That does give sight. We're going to jump down here now. The shield's out of Kerrigan. If she's got all her damage together, particularly after a Primal Grasp, she can absolutely tank this without losing any health. Zagara pushing the bottom at the moment. And nice, Fury's doing a little bit of zoning. So is this just going to be, yep, it's going to be Titan Grenade. So our Giant Killer deals quite a bit of damage. 5% of maximum health when you hit with a grenade. No if statement to it, just hit a hero and you get 5% of their health. Cool, so on our second one, interesting. We're going to keep Zagara free. We're going to put Tychus in, because he's situational. I mean, we wouldn't want Kerrigan in there. We wouldn't want our healer. We wouldn't want Johanna. But between the two, I guess with run and gun, maybe Tychus does have the superior escape. But it looks like they have definitely put Tychus repeatedly into this Garden Terror. Now, is he going to take it top, or is he going to push down through the middle? Quite a bit of attention in the top. Two Mutalisks going at it, too. One's gonna go down. Yep, he's just gonna plow right into the middle while Zagara pushes the top. Yep, gonna zone a little bit in the top. If anyone wants to come through that, they're gonna get polymorph. Be a pretty poor choice into this team. Glaurung going just deep enough to put a smite out on the Mutalisk there and get rid of them. They each had about 45 seconds left on their life. And we're waiting on our next potted plant, but we lost a ton of health on that. So is he going to try to play safe, or is he just going to... Nah, he's thinking he might just pop out and be Tychus for this thing. Pretty deep engaged by Tyrael. Minigun was used, so we're now without it, which is going to cause him to be a little less... We're all getting a little confused around the building. That happens to all of us. They're in a bit of a choke. Laser goes down as sort of almost like a body block in the back of it, but everyone walks in. That's a lot of damage. Kerrigan keeps going because she had her ult on. Minigun's burning. He put caffeine below half health, so it stopped working yet again. And boy, they get cleaned up, don't they? Rough mosh, huh? Now Johanna's up, but that's probably not going to stop them for trying for a keep. They're really swarming at this point. The blind helps, right? And luckily the Holy Ground didn't land true. Holy Ground cannot be removed by Iron Skin. Just like you can't walk out the zombie wall these days. Well, she's being disruptive. And Monk's pretty low, but they're gonna play it safe. Here comes Kerrigan. And Li Ming's stuck on defense, not where you want your Li Ming, huh? I mean, who'd do it better? Maybe Greymane, right? Oh, snap! Trading a little bit of B-step in there.
Night falls in 30 seconds. Are you ready for some amusement?
Tychus is heading for the camp. And join Kerrigan for it. Night phase assert themselves in the bottom with some lane control. Looks like this game will go to 20. So will he end up getting more Giant Killer, or will he get range on his laser? Or something fun like the run and gun. Can't move through that zone because of the sword from Tyrael. Now dancing around, trying to get on the back line, of course. Grenade lands darn true on the Monk. And that's pretty rough. He's gonna walk right after. He doesn't care, he's waiting on a run and gun. Oh, someone's gonna make something happen. It's ECC with a mosh pit and a Li Ming. Maybe you prefer a Greymane there instead, but it's still not a bad team to try to defend this for a little bit, but this will be a keep for them. I love the way Cattle's just planting his feet when it comes to the good attacks. So they move with such confidence, right? They might just go for it here. I don't think we'll even get to see what this 20 was. Nope, we do. Ah, it's a cute one. I love this. Run and gun. Now with Bob and Weave, you get 3 charges. What a fantastic talent. He doesn't care. Look, it's even the thing he picked Tychus for. Right there, nobody cares. Poor Caffeine. Completely ignored. Yep, just gonna mosh pit out there for why nots. And that'll be the game. So I think Tychus was extremely decisive in that victory. It's scary picking the bigger they are. It's sad when you maybe can't get the final kill with it, but he changed targets very well and manages overkill extremely well. I think this was maybe just more of a fun pickup as they thought they were going to win at that point, but it is darn fun, Bob and Weave. I haven't got to get a lot of experience with it just because it's a level 20 talent, right? Anything else weird here? We had a Executioner with what I would see as a huge lack of slows. I guess we were thinking, yeah, maybe it was sort of an emergency pickup. We're like, if we land a mosh pit, we need Greymane to kill everything. He has to kill everything. Maybe we get him cleave at 20, and he'll just be able to just destroy everything in the mosh pit. Circle of Life, Relentless, Protective Shield, because they had a health-based tank with ETC. It was Illusionist. Even though Li Ming, she didn't die much, did she? No, 0 deaths. But still illusionist for that range. Fireflies, interestingly enough. But Charge Blast. Increase its speed and mana, huh? Maybe reduce the cooldown, right? 1 second, down to 2 seconds. Maybe that is what you would use to have to defend lanes in the late game. You're seeing you getting out pushed. Many of us might go Mirror Ball, but you got to be mana efficient. So maybe you do. You just aim wide and then you auto attack the 3 targets, and then you Calamity and you do it again. Maybe that is lane clear for Li Ming. Nice to see Quicksilver bullets too. It was Blink and Queen's Rush, actually. Something you don't normally see in Heroes League, but is very, very powerful. And is applied free on takedowns, right? That's how she just starts booking it with the Maelstrom in tow. I was curious why she was moving so fast at some of those points there. Redemption, nobody breaks it. It is Shrink Ray and Righteous Defense, so no Benediction. It is Righteous Defense. And Protective Coating, huh? Breaking the trend. A couple of trend breakers, but still going with that Corpse Feeder here in the early game.